All right, tune into episode 69. We talk about the real facts of not paying taxes on your tips.
You're listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. With your hosts, Joe Ferranti and Jerry Kenna. Produced by Nathan Kenna. Interviewing entrepreneurs, business operators, and investors. This episode of Between Two Bridges is brought to you by Duro Cleaners. Luxury laundry care conveniently delivered to your door. Visit DuroCleaners.com because life's better without laundry.
All right, coming at you live. Well, not live.
Not live.
We record these.
Yeah, we thank God we pre-recorded
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
This week's episode 69 here, Between Two Bridges. I can't believe we're still at it, but we are. I took a little break last week, so we did
Well deserved.
Yeah, it was a good time. I didn't relax very much on vacation.
Do we ever?
No, but I did have some moments that I realized I wouldn't have had with my kids, especially. So my son is 5, and he started putting his head underwater for the first time.
Nice.
Which led to him wanting to keep jumping off the side of the pool. And Sarah took a picture of him jumping from the pool ledge into my arms, and it is uncanny that I have the same picture of my dad, like
No shit.
same age, like she took a live video, so she was able to like stop it right at the moment, and I was like, wow, I'm a lot more attractive than my dad was. No, but yeah, that's how I learned how to swim. My dad was like, I'll catch you.
And then he didn't?
Yeah, he didn't. He just gave me the old. So, but yeah, they can both stand in the shallow end now. So there was like even though we packed swimmies, we were able to leave them at the condo most of the time.
Yeah, that's the best. Whenever they're a little bit more independent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's also worrisome because then when you go down to the boat docks, my son is like, well, I'm not afraid to go under. He didn't jump in, but I know where his head's at, you know?
Yeah.
So
Neither my wife and I, neither one of us are like super strong swimmers. Like we could survive, but that's about it.
I'm very glad I'm a strong swimmer.
Yeah, neither one of us are. So we were very adamant that we made sure our kids were. So they both took swimming lessons from pretty much birth and or shortly thereafter. So they're both very strong swimmers. So like we take them to the pool and they can swim in the deep end, jump off the diving board.
That's great.
You know, it's great. So
yeah, my kids were afraid of water in their face, period.
Really?
So like if they were in a pool with a bunch of kids and the kids started splashing and they got water in their face, they would just freak out.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't know, there's no way to like break them of it until they figure it out.
Just have to do it
right?
until they figure it out.
Right. So kudos to Graham and Reese. They started doing it, and it was that was the stuff that like I'm glad I wasn't not there. I'm glad that it didn't happen like this summer at the pool when I can't be there. But yeah, it was a good trip. But I couldn't help but think everywhere I went down there, I was tipping everybody, right?
Yeah.
And they were so happy because apparently they're passing the no tip bill, you know.
Yeah, that's what everybody on social media, you watch TikTok, they passed it.
And that's what we started this podcast for, was to give real information, right?
Yeah, and it's not true.
So
they passed a budget resolution, which does not mean they passed the no tax on tips.
I feel like a jerk. I was cutting percentages off the tips.
Just because like
Just
you were making up
weren't
for
paying.
the tax.
Yeah.
Like, well, you're not paying that 30% tax anymore. So
Yeah.
no, so we're going to bust another myth. We just got done with the Mythbuster episode, so we're going to bust another myth. Sorry to burst a bubble for everybody, but so what the bill that was presented to Congress didn't have any sort of actual policy prescription in it. It was the budget resolution. So basically what it said, it was a budget outline. So it said that the policy that Trump wants to present to Congress, the tax bill that he wants to present, basically includes $4.5 trillion worth of tax cuts and approximately $4 trillion worth of spending cuts.
Okay.
That, based on his speeches, his promises, his campaign, includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. But that was not what was voted on. So we are one step closer to that, but that was not what was passed. Now, it was an extremely partisan vote. All the Democrats voted no. All but one Republican voted yes. The one Republican that voted yes or voted no, his point of view was that it was too aggressive of a tax cut and not aggressive enough of a spending cut. And that it is going to do too much to increase the deficit, not enough to cut the deficit probably in the next 10 years. He's afraid, and his quote was that it was going to increase the deficit approximately $20 trillion in the next 10 years. We already have a deficit in this country of $36 trillion. It's a serious problem. The vote actually almost didn't happen. The Republicans actually walked away. They weren't going to vote on it. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, had a hard time rallying the Republicans to actually sit down and put it to a vote. It was a last minute, late night rallying of the troops to get them back to their seats to have the vote. And he was able to get it accomplished and get the vote passed. But it was a last minute deal, and it almost didn't happen. But he did end up getting it done. But yeah, so it's crazy how the rumor mill and the misinformation is flying through social media. But it's a win for President Trump, and it's a move in the right direction for what he's promised. Whether or not the no tax on tips thing actually does happen we're yet to see it. But it was a win for the Trump administration for that vote to pass. But
I feel like it's going to be a rallying cry that we hear in every election. There's certain things that go on for decades, Yeah,
everybody wants to hear what they want to hear.
Right.
And everybody, the Republicans that want to just tout, that are very pro-Trump and pro his policy, they heard what they want to hear, and they're just filling in the blanks and just assuming that that's what passed the other night. They're all talking shit on the one Republican that voted no. In reality, maybe he wanted more. He wanted more cuts. He wanted more as far as spending cuts, and that's probably not unreasonable. We're America.
I would say we all have a spending problem, right?
We do. We have a spending problem, and the deficit is a serious concern. There's a lot of, obviously the Doge thing is headline news right now, and there's a lot of people that are really upset. There's a lot of apparent corruption and overspending, and not to sit here and go crazy and go down that rabbit hole, because obviously, considering that misinformation came from somewhere, and whether the news is out reporting it or I don't know where it's all coming from, but a quick search on the internet and looking at legitimate news sources, it will tell you that it was a budget vote.
And that's probably why you said it happened real late.
It did.
Or was it early in the morning?
It was late at night.
Yeah.
It was after several other votes, and they were almost adjourned for the evening and done. And they were they literally Speaker Johnson was like pulling them back into the room, back into chambers to like, hey, we got one more. We got one more. Like that's legit how it happened, how it went down. So there's a lot of just a misunderstanding of what went down. It is not official. If you're a server or a hairdresser or any other sort of tipped employees, you are still paying taxes on tips as of right now. It's not tax-free income right now. If you're working overtime, it is still taxed right now. That has not changed. It's not going to happen that quickly because there's a lot of logistics to that. I mean, and we've talked about this before when it was originally talked about in his campaign, because tips and overtime, I mean, just to touch on it in case you didn't hear about it in our other episode, but there's employer taxes and the payroll taxes are not just cut and dry. And is it exempt of just federal withholding? Is it also exempt of payroll taxes, meaning Social Security and Medicare? Yeah. And is it just employee side? Is it also employer side? I mean, there's a lot of logistics to that, and they're going to have to define that. And then, with the Social Security thing, right now, Social Security is not taxable if you don't have other income. So if you're retired and your income, if you only live on Social Security, you have no other income at all, it's not taxable. If you have a pension, but it's small, and if you're single or married filing joint, those other numbers are different whether you're single or married filing joint, but there's a level in which your Social Security becomes taxable, and then it goes up as your other income goes up. And then the taxability of your Social Security maxes out at 85%, meaning 85% of your Social Security is considered taxable income. That's the max. Now, so you'll never pay tax on 100% of your Social Security, ever. Yeah. Now, what they're proposing is that you'll pay tax on 0% of your Social Security. Now, there's people that are out there saying, I already pay taxes on my Social Security. Well, that's partially true. You pay taxes on your share of the Social Security, right? On what you paid into Social Security, but your employer also paid into Social Security, and you didn't pay taxes on that, right? Your employer did.
I mean,
your employer didn't, because
anybody that's ever done payroll or seen the breakdown of payroll, business owners get steamrolled.
Yeah, so the business owner also paid into your Social Security, and they wrote that off as a tax deduction. Yeah. So half of your Social Security was never paid. It was tax exempt at the beginning. So theoretically, everybody should be paying tax on half of their Social Security, but some people are paying tax on none of their Social Security. So I don't know. It's weird. So the argument, I guess, is that half of your Social Security should be taxable, but I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how it all works out. But there's a lot of logistics. There's going to be a lot of planning. This is not something that a bill is going to...
You can't turn it on and turn it off.
No, you're not going to dump a bill at the House of Representatives and they're going to vote on it and it's going to just turn on. Yeah. There's going to be...
For fuck's sakes, marijuana is still not legal in this country.
No, there's going to be... The Ways and Means Committee is going to review it. They're going to build the system. They're going to have to negotiate it. They're going to have to figure out the logistics of it and how it's going to work, how it's going to affect the budget. There's so much work that's going to go into how to implement that tax cut, how it's going to impact the country, how it's going to impact the Social Security fund, the Medicare fund, business owners, taxpayers. There's so much that goes into it. It's never going to happen this fast. So it's going to be a process. Will it pass? Maybe. Will it be as close of a vote as it was? Probably. And, but we'll see. It's going to...
Yeah, I always think that, they're always doing things to affect the masses. You know what I mean? They're not like, hey, you're a business owner, small business owner. Maybe you shouldn't have to pay income tax on your paycheck. They're never... Yeah. They're always worried about the masses of people. And it's an exciting time because a lot of people get tips
But this could benefit business owners if this tax break is also going to affect Social Security and Medicare, and for both the employer and the employee, this could be a massive savings for the business owners as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a comeback rally for the people that got crushed like the worst during COVID. Restaurants got murdered.
Yeah,
know?
Particularly for restaurant owners for tips.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too many other professions that are. I mean, I guess Uber is probably a big one.
Yeah, Uber. I mean, hairdressers, hair salons, barbershops, but the service industry in particular. I mean, if no tax on tips is going to actually affect Social Security and Medicare as well, that's going to be a big impact on business owners as well. And I mean, it could be a big savings, and it could have a big impact. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what that's going to translate into, but we're months away from that actually becoming a public information and certainly coming up to a vote.
Yeah, because I don't know, you'd probably know better than I, obviously, with your career and your profession, but I think that in most businesses, your largest cost of doing business is payroll and your payroll tax.
Yeah, so typically in any business, not any business, but the general rule of thumb for most businesses is that you want payroll to be about 30% of your cost. Your cost of goods sold, you typically want to be around 30% of your cost. Everything else is around 30% of your cost, and you make 10% profit.
Right.
That's where you kind of want to live, right? But yeah, so 30% of your cost is payroll. It's big, you know, and there's definitely outliers, right? But that's
a lot of them are like niche businesses that take off, you know, and then people make 50%, you know. But I was just paying attention to, like, when I was away, like how every retail shop seems to have the same shit, and like a large part of this stuff that we're seeing there, it's not manufactured. Like, it's not like someone took pride and made this Key West sweatshirt or this, you know, it's all mass produced, right?
Yeah, and it's probably made in China or Taiwan.
Right. So apparently I got a call. I was talking to one of my reps today, and they're preparing us for a 20 to 25% increase on hangers. And I'm like, they want the whole nut. Like, they want us to pay the whole nut of the tariff. Yep. And like, they haven't really even passed yet, but they're preparing us for it, which means within a week, they're just going to go up 20 to 25%.
So are they telling you it's already happening even though the tariff hasn't actually happened yet?
Correct. They said it's pretty much passed, and the steel part of it's passed, and just be prepared in the next few weeks that, because we get hangers primarily from Canada or Mexico. And I'm like, you know, my biggest gripe with all that is, like, whenever they took these businesses out of town and went somewhere to get them cheaper and get it made cheaper, no one was like, man, I'm so glad they moved that plant to Mexico. I'm saving 30%. No, they kept the prices the same, and they
saved the money.
Right, and the profit margins went up, and they built legacy wealth on the backs of, like, mom and pop shops, and depending on what you're using. And now that the bills come due, they're not turning in their $110,000 BMW or Mercedes. They're just jacking the price, and I'm fine with it because then I got to jack my price. But, like, at what point do we hit the breaking point, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, I fear for people in our industry that weren't aggressive enough along the way to keep up with the times, because they're still doing, there's like places that are like $1.99 any piece. Hangers right now are 20 cents a piece. You know, they're going to go up 10, you know, a nickel. So now you're already charging 25 cents for the hanger. Like, you're down to $1.50, and there's all this other shit that goes into it, labor cost. So, like, I'm glad that I stayed with the times and kept raising my prices. And I feel like it'll eliminate some, like, every one of these big bumps eliminates competition. But at some point, you're just going to eliminate the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, who's going to pay a fucking $1 for a metal wire hanger when you're paying $5? You know, like, are we going to get to a point where it's $13 for a shirt to be pressed? If that's what it costs me, then that's what it is.
It's going to come, man.
You know, I feel bad for the people that are still at $1.99 if they got to get to $8.
Yeah, it's like, Yeah.
Like, where do you go there? You can't just tell your customers it went up $6 overnight.
Right.
So, and I also think that part of the negotiation tactics with our current president is he's like a shock factor. Like, he's a disruptive negotiator where, like, he'll say 25%. And the years go up, they come back to the table, they talk about some other stuff, and it might settle at 10 or 8, you know? I mean, he's a businessman. Like, he you know, he's always done it. Like, I read this story about how he would do it with contractors. They'd be like, to do this hotel is, you know, the electrical is $78 million. And he'd be like, yeah, I'll get it done for $1 million. And they're like, well, good luck with that. But then they're like, well, wait a second. We could do it for 50. And he's like, deal. And it's like, well, you said you were going to get it done for 1. Now you're paying 50. And he's like, yeah, but I saved 28. You know, like, that's his, like, that's what he's brought to it. So, like, take it or leave it. You don't have to like the guy.
Right.
He's not inviting any of us out for dinner. But that's part of his, like, that's why he started at 25%. It's a very high tariff.
Right.
But, like, I feel like it's like, all right, well, this gives us some room to talk. Now, it could go the other way where they don't want to hear it at all. And he's like, you know what? 38% tariffs. Like,
yeah.
So, but you got to get people to listen to you. And that's how he did it. You know, you can't just keep giving away the farm. And, you know, if you're going to take away all that revenue from taxes on tips, you got to get it from somewhere else, you know? And should people that are making billions of dollars selling stuff to Americans pay the money? Or should, you know, Becky, the hairstylist, pay her 30% on her $10 tip? You know, that's what's going on right now to me in my eyes. I mean, I'm just the dumbest dude in the room right now. Wish we had more guests. I'd feel better about myself. But
So I saw something the other day, and I saw it on Facebook, and, you know, everything on Facebook's true, right?
Clip that, Jack.
And I thought, there's no way that's true. So I researched it.
Oh, boy. Deep dive.
I did a little deep dive, and it wasn't really true. It's still, the numbers weren't, I don't think the numbers were exactly accurate, but it's pretty mind-blowing. So it's about Social Security. So there's a lot of talk, it's controversial, about privatization of Social Security. So with Social Security, when you're working, and this doesn't even count for the fact that your employer pays into this as well. This is just factoring in what you pay into Social Security. If you maximize what you pay into Social Security for your whole life, and you maximize, so your maximum amount that you could get from Social Security when you retire, so you work till you're 67, you paid in, you maximized it, the most you can get from Social Security per month is $4,873.
It's per individual.
Per person, $4,873. That's the most you can get as of 2024, full retirement age. Okay?
That's your monthly.
Monthly, $4,873. Okay. Now, as of 2024, if you are a high earner, no matter how much money you make, you only pay into Social Security on the first $168,600. Okay. After that, you don't pay Social Security. So $168,600, you pay 6.2%. So that's, just because I'm not going to do the math, it's $10,453.20.
Okay.
Okay. Now, say for instance, at 18 years old, you got some crazy job making all that money, right? So at 18 years old,
you're making $160,000 a year.
$168,600. But instead, you had the option to not pay into Social Security, but you're going to take $10,453.20. But instead of putting it into Social Security, you're going to put it into the S&P 500.
Okay.
Okay. And you do that every year from 18 years old until you're 67. Okay. So instead of putting in Social Security all those years, you put it into the S&P 500. Now, if you put it into Social Security, you get that $4,800.
Right.
If you did that and you put it into the S&P 500, adjusted for inflation, instead of getting that $4,800, you would get per month.
A dividend.
$26,065 per month from the time you're 67 till you were 100.
Now that's something people could retire on.
Before, and the calculation I did is that money would last you from 67 to 100, and you die at 100 years old with no money. So it would last you from 67 to 100. You die at 100 with $0. $26,065 per month. Per month.
Yeah, you'd be bringing home what, $2-3 million. You couldn't even.
So 26.
Yeah, you couldn't even spend that money. I mean, I know 9-year-old guys that couldn't spend
times 12. So it's $312,000 a month. Or $312,000 a year.
A year.
Yeah. Huh. So $300,000 a year.
What do you think that would do for our economy?
Well, so here's the problem with it. Okay. If they decided today, we're going to give people the option to not pay into Social Security and invest on their own, put it in the S&P, whatever. First of all, it would make the market go crazy. Because people like me and you would be like, okay,
yeah.
I'm going to do that because I'm going to get a way better return.
GameStop, baby.
Right. So the market's going to go crazy because all these people are going to be putting their money into the market, right? The problem with that is Social Security is going to die today. And the people that are on Social Security they're not going to be able to fund Social Security because they're no longer going to have our money, and they need our money today to pay for the people that are collecting Social Security today.
Today, yeah.
Because they've robbed that fund for so many years that they don't have, like, all the people that have been paying into it for decades, the money's not in there anymore.
Right.
That lockbox that Hillary Clinton was talking about, you can't rob the lockbox. They've been robbing that lockbox for decades. So that money's not in there. So that's the problem. So you can't necessarily just privatize it because they've already robbed it.
Right. It's a tool. They're using it as a tool.
They've already used it as a tool. But that's how fucked up that system is that you could take that money and you could make so much more money with it outside of the government. The government is so inefficient.
Yeah. I mean, we see it every day. You know,
with that money. I was just like, so I saw that meme on Facebook and I thought, there's no way that's true.
And got into
and then to blow your mind even more, that $4,800, if you're paying $10,453 in there, so's your employer.
Yeah.
So it's not $10,453 going in there. It's $21,000 going in there.
Oh, so then it would double everything.
It would double all of it plus the compounding interest. And that's adjusted for inflation.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like when you get a new hire and they're filling out their packet, they can put down that they have 2 dependents if they wanted to. The IRS doesn't care. You can file single and 2 even if you don't have 2 dependents.
Well, it doesn't affect your Social Security though.
Right, but at the end of the year, and you don't have 2 dependents. At the end of the year, you have to file single and 0.
Yeah.
So you're going to owe taxes.
Mm-hmm. That's federal withholding though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why couldn't they make it like that? On that, like have a form when you hire a new employee. Mm-hmm. You know, you just say
that would work if
what's your contributing percentage to Social Security. So say you're not a risk guy,
right?
Because S&P is risky. So you could say I want to do a 50-50 split.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, you know? And that would work if they didn't need our money to fund the sins of the past.
And that's like my biggest problem with the government right now is there's penalties. Yeah, not only they're not robbing you.
They're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right, and they have the gun to your head and you don't have an option.
Right.
You know, you just have to.
And it's the same thing with these pension funds. They look at all these companies that have the defined benefit pensions, the companies like these. I mean, look at General Motors. General Motors needed bailed out years ago. It's because they had pension funds that were unfunded.
Right. And
these local municipalities, these governments, these school boards, school districts, they have pension funds that they can't fund. They have teacher funds and these government pensions that they don't have money for.
Yeah, and you got companies that have been in buildings for 100 years that are worth, because it's based on square footage alone, they're worth $1 million, and they've been paying, property tax to the school for years and never getting anything back.
Right.
And I understand that like not everybody has a kid in school, But it's just become like a rite of passage. You pay property tax. You just bend over and take it because it's what we do as Americans. But I don't think that we're getting anywhere. You know, and that's my, like I don't care who you are or how you do your thing. I don't care what your personal life does. But at some point, like, I've been in this game long enough to know that, like, when you're signing those checks for a business, like, you're paying your fair share. And then you get to go home and you got to pay your fair share again. And the roads aren't any better and the grass isn't any greener. And it's like...
These property taxes, buddy, Jesus Christ. I mean, do you really own your home?
No,
I mean, even after you pay the bank off, you're still paying rent to the government for the rest of your life just to live in your home.
Right. To say that, like, we'll take care of you. We'll take care of your streets. And, you know, in the volunteer fire departments, they get a little bit. They get a smidgen.
Yeah. You know, but then the argument with that is that, you know, without those property taxes, there is no fire department. Without those property taxes, there is no school.
But
there is no roads.
What I'm saying is like, how many fire departments are running fundraisers to get more money because there's a guy in the streets department that is making $68,000 a year and hasn't showed up to work for a week and just hangs out. And like, there's just all these people that have gotten these jobs inside the government. Like, we grew up in a generation, like, go work for the water authority. You'll always get paid, you know, and the plumber doesn't make as much as the guy at the water authority because the water authority is government, you know, like, it's all intertangled, you know. Well,
we're seeing a lot of that play out in the federal
right. And people are nervous. Level. And, you know, the city of Pittsburgh, I mean, we're not just a Pittsburgh show, but like the city of Pittsburgh schools.
Thank you for listening. And now a brief word from our sponsor. Streamline your life with Duro Cleaner's complete pickup and delivery service. From your doorstep to their state-of-the-art cleaning facility and back, all without you lifting a finger. Get time back in your day and fresh, ready-to-go clothes. And just wait, big things are coming soon to make your experience even better. Visit DuroCleaners.com because life's better without laundry. And now, back to the show.
The city of Pittsburgh schools, they're just as bad at this shit. The kids are robbed of an education. They can't afford to have all the schools open that they have. They're hiring consultants for things that the school board should be like, if you're on the school board, you should be qualified to make these decisions, not hire consultants for everything.
Oh, Riverview just did that. They hired a consultant to come in to discuss whether or not they should reallocate the children, to decide whether they should, the elementary school, well, all three of the buildings, to reallocate the grades. To whether Verner and Riverview and 10th Street, they're talking about taking, instead of elementary K through 6, Oakmont and Verona, Verner and 10th Street, making 10th Street, Verner K through 3, 10th Street 4 through 6, or 4 through 7, and the high school 8 through 12, or something like that. But basically mixing Oakmont and Verona kids at all three buildings.
Right.
And they hired a consultant to come in and do that, and spent tens of thousands of dollars for some consultant to do that. And I started poking around and asking questions like, is that gonna happen? Like, are we seriously talking about that? Like, I mean, I don't know how I feel about it. I know that Riverview has some serious budget concerns, and I don't know if that helps the situation. I know that Verner has enrollment issues. They have had enrollment issues for a long time. I'm not sure if that helps the situation. I don't know if there's space issues at the schools. I'm not sure. But
and these buildings aren't small and they're not cheap to maintain.
Right. And I think 10th Street might have space issues. I'm not sure if the high school has space issues. They might. But I said, what problem does that solve? And one of the problems that creates is that Verner gets Title I funding, and that they would lose Title I funding if they mixed Oakmont and Verona kids. So that creates a whole new problem with the budget.
I'm just more of a common sense kind of person. Like,
but how much money did they spend on a consultant to be like, we're going to lose funding if we do that?
Yeah, where someone that ran for school board in that district probably knew that going into it, but they couldn't say it because they need to hear it from somebody that has a title.
But why did we have to spend the money to do that? Like,
it's not broke.
Like, and maybe it is broke.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, Joe.
Yeah, I think that's what people that work for a living end up retiring into consulting fields because it's like they make more money afterwards, you know?
That happens so much.
Yeah. I know that the way my company runs is like I'm small business, you know, and I think there's a gray area between you don't hear much talk about middle business. And I think there probably at some point needs to be a separation between small and middle, but like, it's just common sense always wins, you know? And there's all these ways that things can get better, but there's always these people that have drawn their line in the sand that say, I don't like him. I don't like that guy. I don't like Elon. I don't like Trump. I don't like Biden, you know, but you got to try. You watch these documentaries about the men that built America. You know, politically, like Andrew Carnegie and Bell, all those guys had a huge say of what went on in DC because they were paying the most.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's easy to look at your life and blame it on somebody else.
Well, that's what they always say is like, not always, but I heard this today or on a podcast where a guy said, they say it takes money to make money. So people without money can accept that as like, I don't need it. I'm stuck here because it takes money to make money and we don't have money, you know? So like, if I just keep living in my life, then it's because I didn't have any money. But it's about like fighting your fears, you know, get the 100 no's before you get one yes.
So here's one for you. It's not that. Here's what it takes. It takes changing your mindset.
Right.
Instead of living your life in fear and in constant, you need to live your life in a position of power and ambition and confidence instead of a position of fear and weakness.
Right.
And if you stop cowering and blaming and acting like the world is out to get you and you can't, and you start looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And if you try to stop me, I'm gonna beat you. And nothing's gonna stop me. Things will change for you.
Yeah, I mean, so many people look at other people and say, I wish I could have that.
So go get it.
Yeah, and that's the thing that always drives me nuts is like, I think that envy is a good thing in my world, like where my head's at. Like, I don't think that looking at someone and seeing what they have, I don't look at it like saying, I wish I had that. I'm like, well, the only person that's stopping me from getting that is me.
Yeah.
You know? So if I want to, you know, like, and that's part, I think my psyche going on vacation is like, no, I'm setting myself up. I'm behind the 8 ball for a week because I need to go get it, you know? And I think that's just the way why we're wired a little different. But I don't think that everybody needs to be wired so aggressively. But I think that when you're working and you got your good job and your comfortable job, you should still be looking for a job or an option or an angle and always have a backup plan. You know, like, what am I going to do if all shit fails? And mine is go live on a boat in Key West. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
$426 for like a mooring fee. I'm like, dude, I'm good. I'm just golden.
Yeah. You can't live in this mindset that you'll never get somewhere and the must be nice kind of people.
Yeah.
And you just got to go get it. And
you could start tomorrow going to get it.
It's the scarcity mindset. It's that you have to listen, there's money out there, there's success out there. You just have to go get it. You have to think outside the box. You have to, and honestly, now's one of the easiest times than ever.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of little things you could do.
Yeah. And it's the what do they call it? The gig economy, the side hustle economy.
Right.
You can use the internet in ways now that you never could before. You don't need a brick and mortar store. You don't need $1 million. You don't need $100,000. You don't need $10,000.
Dude, interestingly enough, I saw a stat where if you wanted to build $1 million company in 1960, the average amount of employees you would need to build that $1 million company was like 2,000. You needed 2,000 employees to get maybe it was 10 million, right? So, and then in like 1990, it was like 1,000. And this guy said, by 2030, you'll be able to do it with 3. One guy selling, one guy with the idea, and one person that can understand the computer and the AI to generate it.
I believe it.
And I'm like, that is insane.
I believe it.
And the people that should be scared are the people that are hitting snooze and don't want to go to work and hate their job, because you know what? Everybody hates that job too.
Yeah.
And they're going to find a way to replace you. You know what I mean?
I think there's different industries that are popping up. I think that there are a lot of jobs that are going to get replaced with AI, right? And it's probably inevitable. But I think that there are entire sectors, there are new industries that are going to pop up that if you're innovative, you can develop an entire business using technology and using AI to sell a service or a product using the internet, a website, and AI. And like you said, one person, 2 people, an idea, a website, some AI, create a system, scale it, create a marketing plan. You can use AI to develop every section of that. And you can create, it's not going to be $10 million overnight. And, but you can you can change your life. And you don't need a $10 million business to change your life.
Yeah.
Most people, people always think of the 1% as the millionaires. 1% is not the millionaires. No. 1% in this country is like $400,000.
Yeah.
Okay. You can change your life with $10,000. You can change your life with $1,000 a month. For most people would change their life. An extra $1,000 a month would be huge. And you can literally open up a TikTok account, put some time in when you're home from your day job, working 9 to 5. You can spend your evening when you're fucking around eating popcorn and binge watching Netflix. You could be on.
Come on, man.
Whatever you're doing, you could be focusing
while you're listening to Between Two Bridges podcast. You could be making money.
You could be developing a TikTok page. You could be developing some sort of website, some sort of online course, some sort of whatever it is, something that you're passionate about.
Whatever you're passionate about.
Something that you enjoy. And, so something that I started doing, and I haven't posted about it because it's, whatever. It's just something, it's not something I really care to share about. But, we're trying to eat healthier and, more natural shit. And I started like fucking around with like sourdough bread and shit,
Oh, here we go again. You did this before.
I did, and I failed, but I fucking figured it out. Okay?
Oh boy.
So I'm down this sourdough bread rabbit hole, right? So now like my entire fucking social media feed is sourdough. But there are so many, mainly chicks, with
underwear on. Sourdough.
No, they're usually
like my algorithm's all fucked up.
Not wearing underwear. They're usually fully dressed, thankfully. But there's so many women that have pages with millions of followers.
Crazy.
That all they're doing every day is making loaves of bread. And some of them are selling the bread. Some of them are just making different kinds of sourdough bread and posting stretch and folds and sourdough starters. And today I put fucking cranberries and white chocolate chips in this one. And today I put fucking chocolate, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Where the fuck do these people find the time?
Well, they're stay-at-home moms. And they're just making bread.
Still, where the fuck do they find
the time? And they
have
hundreds of thousands of views on every video, or millions of views on every video. They're getting paid for that, and they're making bread, feeding their family.
Yeah, so I mean, there's avenues to make more money.
You can make more money. You just have to, it doesn't have to be a better job. It doesn't have to be more hours. It doesn't have to be miserable. It can be something you love. It can be your passion. It could be a fucking podcast that you do one night a week.
Right.
That you get to vent about stuff and pass time with your friend. You can think outside the box, and it's an odd time. And
yeah, it is a very odd time. And I think that the jobs that like we're talking about, like the computers are coming, like they're here. They've been here our whole lives. We're very fortunate, but we're willing to listen, where like the generation before us were like, we don't need those things, you know? But then you think about the jobs that like kids could get in their neighborhood, like passing out a newspaper is gone. Mm-hmm. I'm very comfortable saying that the typical landscaping grass cutters are going to be gone within the next 5 years. Husqvarna has a lawnmower that you can put in your yard with a solar docking station that cuts your grass every day.
Oh, really?
And they were like unimaginably priced, right? They were so expensive. Now they're coming down. I think the last time I saw one, it was like $1,800, right?
Really?
So now you get to the $1,000 range, and they're good for 5 to 10 years. You can give me a 5-year warranty for $1,000. It's going to cut my grass.
If your front yard and your backyard are not connected, can it get there?
I don't know. Maybe they'll come up with a drone that just
it would have to go through
a gate.
Yeah.
Or you just. I mean, there's options. I'm sure there's going to be options, but like with my yard, that thing could be cutting grass all day. And what I think is wild is like we went from the reel mower that cut like the one you pushed to like then every lawnmower had a blade that spun, which is really loud. And these have now been developed with a reel mower in them. So they're quiet. You don't even hear them.
Really?
So like, you know, even if it's $2,000 and you bite the bullet, and nowadays it's $50 for a kid to come cut your grass. You know, that thing's paid for one summer, and the next 3 or 4 are for free. And it does its own thing. Like, there's no like, oh, well, it rained today. No, the grass is cut all the time. Like, so that eliminates that job, you know? And like, you go down the list of things, the problem is the young kids don't want to do it anyway. They're going to go make the $1,000 on TikTok. So, I mean, I thought about that when I was on vacation. Like, when you're on vacation, it knows where you are. So a lot of the things you see in your reel are going to be like where you're at. Like, so they're showing me like restaurants to eat and do this and do that. And I'm like, my daughter could make $1,000 right now just shooting videos about what she likes as an 8-year-old at this restaurant, throwing it on the internet. I mean, I'm not ready for that part of it yet.
Yeah.
But like, she did make me some money on vacation. She got us an employee discount at an ice cream shop because she drew him a painting. And they were like, oh, you get the vendor supplier discount. And instead of it being $20 for ice cream, it was $11. I'm like,
nice.
So, but it's that fear factor, you know?
Yeah. The bottom line is that if you're unhappy with your life, you just got to get out there and figure it out, man.
I will say that like, maybe we're naive because we're psychologically like kind of differently built and strong, but like, you need to just quit making excuses for yourself. You know, not everybody's willing to put themselves out there, and I get that, but like, don't blame anybody for that then. It's not my fault.
Well, when you say put yourself out there, you don't.
No, I'm not saying go start a YouTube or whatever. I'm just saying like, just take a breath and quit blaming people.
Yeah.
For what your shortcomings are, you know?
Yeah.
You can edit that part out because pretty sure we're calling everybody out, but
no, I don't think you should. I mean, I think it needs to be heard. And if you make a mistake, fucking own up to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that like I didn't get anything given to me.
No.
You know, I know that this is a weird time. I know that like you always knew, like it seemed like we were stuck in this, we were good, everything's good phase. But now the question is what's going to happen, and that's fine. Everybody's going to be in the same boat. If it all goes down, it goes down. But we were also in a predicament where it was going down regardless. So if they want to adjust and look at different spending or look at not taxing the tips, well, it's not working the way it's working now because I think they want to account for more of the money. Like there's so many people that roll up the money and they put it in a sock drawer, they put it in a gun safe, and then they go to the bank and they're like, well, I made $110,000 last year. And they're like, well, no, you didn't. It says you made 22. Well, the government wants to know where that other, $70 or $88,000 is.
And the bank wants to know too.
Well, if it's not to get the loan,
if it's not in a tax return, they don't give a fuck about that cash.
And the government's like, all right, we're losing out. We're not getting money on this money anyway.
Yeah.
So let's just forgive it.
Yeah.
So that way, at least on the federal level, it's not getting taxed. And then the state's like, oh, wait a second here.
Yeah. So that's another interesting point to the no tax on tips and all that shit. If it's not going to be on a tax return anymore, how do you substantiate it for a loan? Because, I have servers that I do payroll for and I do taxes for that are very well compensated when you account for their tips. So they're able to get mortgages and all that kind of stuff. But when you take their tips off their tax return and off their paychecks, they don't make any money.
Right. So I always think that no matter who's in charge, I always think that every government decision is like two rattling cans and then the decision's really in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, so maybe we should all stop watching the news and thinking about what they're doing for us.
Yeah.
And start thinking about what we're going to do for our fucking selves.
Right. And apparently going to get a lawnmower and starting to cut grass for a couple bucks on the side
may not be the answer.
May not be the answer.
No, it may not be the answer for the long term. But and when you say putting yourself out there, the way I took that was like you got to go out there and go out and sell like you used to, like go door to door and put yourself out there. But you can literally, there's people out there with TikTok channels and YouTube channels where there's no face. It's not even your freaking voice anymore. There's AI tools that will create AI voices and narrate shit and do all of it for you.
That's something that's gone by the wayside. Whatever happened to the TikTok ban?
Yeah, that's been delayed. And it's not really been in the news, so I don't really know what's going to happen with that.
And that's the shock value of the way the government works.
Yeah, it's off the front page.
It's not just this guy; it's every guy. They shock you.
Yeah,
it's just the way the big wheel turns. Mm-hmm. But on a lighter note, that I drink Icy Light, right? It's like my proverbial brand. Yeah, it's like shout out Iron City Brewing, Pittsburgh Brewing Company. So. There's a new show on Netflix, season 3 of Full Swing, which follows golfers on the PGA Tour, which is kind of cool because you get a behind-the-scene look at what's going on. And season 3, episode 1, Neil Shipley, Pittsburgh resident, he's on there. He takes their film crew to his Ohio State dorm room, 5 golfers. They're using 2 Icy Light 30 packs as a VR stand for their Sony Xbox or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
And and then it was pretty cool. He pulls out a box, I guess they ship golf clubs in, and they call him all these different nicknames, but one of them is Oakmont's Finest. And I'm like, trademark that because that's my name. But so that was kind of cool. Icy Light got a little shot on national Netflix there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's the kid last year that finished low amateur at the Masters.
Oh, sweet.
So and he was second runner up. He's done well for himself, but I thought that was cool. So
that's cool.
I wanted to lighten the mood there because I was starting to get a little
wound up.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the driving range, start learning how to hit golf balls better, and maybe I could make some money on the tour or something.
There you go. Play in the open.
I don't know about that. It's getting here. It'll be here soon. I was looking for media credentials.
Yeah, what are we doing there?
We're going to have to find an angle because the USGA has it locked down as far as they have a whole, we'll have Nate look at it. He'll understand it a little more, but they have a whole way of But I think what they're more like looking, when you look for normal credentials, they're like looking at like, you want to be on the golf course, like interviewing golfers. I'm like, no, I want to talk to the vendors in the gift shop. I want to talk to Amanda Lee on staff, on site. Yeah. So we should reach out to her, see how that's going, because she's got to be busy.
Yeah, I bet.
So you're in the height of tax season, huh?
I sure am.
1st of March, what do you got? Technically, like, what, 45 more
crazy days.
Crazy days.
Yeah. It's we'll go just absolutely crazy until April 15th, and then April 16th is usually like just quiet.
Down to like the more normal people that are like calling you like, hey, I think I fucked up.
Yeah. It's been crazy. We talked for the last several months about all the changes that we made, and starting to think maybe we made too many all at one time. A little too ambitious because it was just so much all at one time. So
that was me 3 weeks through February. I'm like, maybe I fucked up. And then I was like, we already got plane tickets bought, so might as well just fuck it, go on vacation.
Yeah, we're in too deep now. We're here. We're here now. So we're going to weather this storm.
My space is still available on McKnight
Road. We're here now. So that's the thing. So last year when we started booking appointments, I thought, scheduling my days is always a big, like, how do I do this? Because my book in particular gets really, really busy. And I'm also very busy with running the business and dealing with clients and managing, my monthly business, right? The rest of my business. Yeah. So trying to manage my time is always a challenge, right? So every year I try to figure out how do I do this? So one thing we did a few years ago is I stopped taking appointments on Sundays. I still work Sundays, but it's my catch-up day. I just come here. Nobody calls on Sundays, so it's just a quiet day for me just to get caught up. That is very helpful. Well, last tax season, I got the bright idea that, you know what? I'll block off a big block of time during the day, and then I'll just do half-hour appointments because I can get tax returns done pretty quick. And then I'll just do more appointments in the morning and more appointments in the evening, and then I'll have time during the day that I can just get done with that stuff. But then that didn't work because I would have people just show up during the day, and then the whole day ended up getting full with like people getting filled into those time slots. But now I just have all these half-hour appointments. And like 3 weeks in, I'm like, this was a horrible mistake. But at that point, it's too late.
It's already booked.
Because I'm booked weeks in advance, right? So I said, we're never doing this again. So this year, it's half-hour appointments, or full-hour appointments, which is working out better. But I'm booked. I'm already booked almost into April, and it's a challenge because people are now getting to the point where they're calling and they're like, well, April.
What do you mean?
First available is in April. So that's
when you use Sean's line. You'd be like, I'm doing a good job.
Yeah, it's challenging. So now trying to fit people in, squeeze people in, and push people to the other preparers. And it's just, it's a challenge, getting people to drop off and, people, just trying to deal with the change. But
so how's the new location as far as new business?
Well, new business has been good. My existing clients all love the new location. Occasionally I've had some people that are like east of Pittsburgh, Monroeville, Plum, Murraysville that are like, oh man, this is kind of far. But most people are like, most of my clients have been with me for so long that they're like, it's a little further, but we don't care.
Fuck it.
The vast majority are like, this is a great location because it's so centralized to the Pittsburgh area that because I'm close to 28, the Turnpike, it's convenient for most everybody. I'm not that far from my old location, so even the people that were right next to my old location, it's not that far for them.
I was looking at it the other day. You said about the turnpike. I was looking the other day. I was like, like I think theoretically I wouldn't want to deliver in like New Stanton, right?
Yeah.
But you can be in New Stanton faster from where we are right now than you could be in like the South Hills.
Yeah.
So like, why not open it up?
Right. Yeah. It's really not. Yeah. Once you realize, I mean, you can be in Seven Springs in not that long. Yeah. That turnpike, you can get on that turnpike, you can boogie.
Yeah. It's not 28. There's not people jumping out of cars and getting run over.
You get on there, you go. So it's not bad. So yeah, the new location's been great. New business has been great. The new location's been really good. The biggest challenge with the new location was Google. Trying to get Google to update my address.
Google just updated my address. I didn't even want people to know where I was at. And then I was looking at a map and I'm like, no, Doro Cleaners is on McKnight Road. We ain't down here, cuz.
Oh man, I fought with Google for months trying to get, because they wanted me to verify. I had to take a video of me like walking around outside and like take video of the building, and then I had to walk in with the video. I had to walk in the building and like walking around inside the building, and then I did that, sent it in, and then you have to wait like 5 days, and then they rejected it. That must be
a tax preparer thing.
It was crazy, and then they rejected it. They said I had to prove that it was my building, and I'm like, there's a fucking sign on the building. What are you talking about? So then they said I had to unlock the door. I'm like, okay, so I took the video and in the video, I pulled a key and I unlocked the door, and then they rejected that video and said that I had to operate a cash register or access an employee-only area. I'm like, everything is really an employee-only area.
Well,
it's an office.
Fear is like, remember AOL?
Yeah.
That's my fear with this AI. We talk about 3 guys in $1 billion business.
Yeah.
Someone might create the new Google in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And make Google obsolete.
They should.
Because if that's the way they're going to conduct business.
Do you know what ended up doing it? So I had a client that came in and he's like, your Google still says you're on Plum Street? And I'm like, yeah, I've been fighting with them for months. I can't get them to update it. He texted me when he left. He's like, I got it. I'm like, you what?
Did he write a review?
So he went out to his car, took a picture of my building, and then went on Google Maps and somehow updated my address in Google Maps. It instantly updated my address.
I think that's what I did.
Listing.
Yeah, I'm like, because I had that carbon steel. The old company was there, and then whenever I dropped the pin there, that's what did it for me. And I didn't want it to change.
Yeah, he was able to update my address. I'm like, I can't update my address, and I'm the verified business owner, but this client randomly changed my address.
Yeah, I think that Google is gonna. I'm not predicting the future, but like we talk about investing that money in the S&P, how much money is Google carrying in the S&P?
It's crazy.
I think that there's going to be a new,
So the picture that's on Google when you Google Landmark Business Solutions
is the customer's
picture through his windshield of the back of the van that was also parked.
That said Doro Cleaners.
No, it was a client's van that was parked in the handicap spot when it was there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, whatever, man, it's fine. The Landmark sign is in the picture. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. But it's, I'm like, well, goddamn Google.
And those are the things that I think that like, as a small business owner, people don't understand. Like you're doing your best, and then that took a day of your life probably over the course of a month.
Months.
And they'll make the snide comment like, your address is wrong. It's like, well, I couldn't call Bell Atlantic and fucking change it.
They wanted me to get a video with a street sign. There's no street signs. I'm on Route 910. The only street sign is like 300 yards away. And the video, you can't just take a video. You have to use like a QR code.
Now, bro.
You have to use a QR code and use like Google's video, but their video is so pixelated you can't read the sign.
Yeah, we're showing our age.
Dude, it's so jacked up.
Because like I get pissed off because when I get clients at Longwood, right, I can't put Route 909 in because it picks it up as a 15147 and it's in Verona. It wants them to deliver all the clothes to the Doughboy in Verona. So I'm like, what's the longitude and latitude? I'll put it in like that. And if I tell you what, if you ask probably 100 kids in a room at 15 years old of what the hell longitude and latitude is.
Yeah, no.
They'd be like, what?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's been a challenge, but yeah, everybody seems to love it here. Everybody loves the office. The question I get a lot, how long have you been here? And I'm like, October. Yeah, I'm still unpacking.
Yeah, well, I think about that too. Like, I think about, my game plan was everything needed to be right, and I still didn't finish the floor under the sink, and there's just things that are going on. And
I said on the podcast, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to start working.
It's got to be right.
So everything's perfect and right.
And you know what? When you think it's right, like as far as my machinery goes, I thought it was right. And everything ran when I was gone. There was no like quirky shit that had to be fixed. Like the people were able to work. There was no phone calls like, how's this run? Everything ran. The one washer broke before I left. And I got a great washer guy that like repairs and sells washers. And I called him and he's like, give me the serial number. And I call him and he's like, oh, there's no way that power supply went bad. He goes, take the top off. There's 4 blue wires on the right. Shove them in there. Turn the power off, turn it back on. And it started. And I'm like, if this is a daily reoccurrence that like I have to ask the people that work for me to do it, like I'm fucked. They're gonna have to run with one washer. And it worked. And it worked the whole week. So that was exciting. But the things, it's the little things. So I came back and like, it felt good to walk in and turn the lights and see it, Like I come right from the airport. If I didn't have to drop the family off, I would just go straight to work to be like, all right, you survive this one. When I looked at the place, I'm like, I didn't leave that shirt unit like that. I didn't install it like that. Well, I forgot to put bolts in when I bolted the shirt unit in. So it like goes around. And over the last 4 months, it's moved. But when you go there every day, you don't see it. But when you haven't been there in a week, I'm like, what do they do? And I'm like, oh, you know what? You never drilled the bolts in. So I'll fix that on Saturday, I guess.
So everything went smoothly while we were gone?
Yeah, very smooth. And the watch was a big improvement because my biggest argument with my life right now is I need to start answering these random California numbers that are calling me because they are 100% like, hey, do you need funding? Hey, we can get you, and you become numb to it, So like I want to figure out, like I have customers that I call to prove that you're not a telemarketer. Press 1. I want to figure out a way to say like, do you want to talk to Joe? Press 1. Do you want to talk to Doro? Press 2. Because I feel like I can weed out so many phone calls. But I'm answering these guys and they're salesmen. I get it. But I'm like answering them on my watch in the pool. And they're like, we can get you $75,000 worth of funding today. And you pay over $150,000 back over the next 9 weeks. And I'm like, put them underwater and shit. So I need to figure that out. That's a goal of mine.
It's so hard. And then, we're both in business and we have to return calls and we get bombarded with calls. People get frustrated when you don't call them back. But it's hard to explain the amount of phone calls you get.
Yeah. Technology's great. I mean, I was pretty lax a little bit on the phone calls because like I'm thinking I'm pretty accessible, 51 weeks out of the year. But one of the things I did was like the AirPod on the bicycle with the kid. Like I can see them. They're in the back. Like we have this bicycle that has like a wooden box in the front. Mm-hmm. You just pedal your ass off. But they're there and I'm there. And a lot of it's all bullshit, Yeah. It's just, if clients can't understand it, then they'll never understand it. Right. And part of what I did was I want to have customers that understand it. Like I have customers like I messed up this morning, like, the vacation blues. You get back and a Tuesday customer's messaging you on Wednesday and you're like, yeah, we'll be there this afternoon. And then they're calling you at 5, like nobody showed up. Then I look at the account and I'm like, oh, because it's Wednesday and you're not on the route. So I'm like, I'll be down.
Yeah.
So, but it's good to get away. It's good to get back. And that's the funny thing about like vacations. You spend it so it makes you want to go make it,
Yeah.
So, but
well,
it's another episode.
Another week.
So I'm not paying taxes on my income or tips.
On your tips. Everything I got last year was tips. It's crazy.
It's the craziest thing ever, dude.
I just do taxes for tips.
Sign up, dorocleaners.com for home delivery. It's free. Just leave us a hefty tip.
A hefty tip.
Thank you for listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. Find and follow us on your preferred podcast streaming platform. Like and subscribe, and leave us a rating and review. You can join us socially on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. You can email the show at info@betweentwobridgespodcast.com. Until next time, make it till you rake it.
Go get it, boys and girls.